Hey guys, how's it going? It's been a little while. Most of you are probably looking forward to the Kill Team Terrain Part 3. I am too, but right now that project's fairly big and I thought I'd throw something in the middle just to kind of give me some extra time. Today we're making Tau Terrain, and I didn't intentionally go into this project with the hopes of making Tau Terrain. In fact, I wanted to use this Nerf gun that was sitting around in my office as maybe some sort of cyberpunk building, but it wasn't coming together. And when I chopped up all these pieces, I kind of looked at it and I thought, oh no, this looks like a downed sci-fi Star Wars type of ship, or Tau ship, or something. And so that's what we're making. I also learned a lot about the rotary tool I just bought, and that rotary tool burns through plastic really, really well and very quickly. So I learned I had to take it slow and cut through it at an even pace, or it would start melting the edges and start furling things up. So if you ever attempt to do this yourself, take it nice and slow so that way the cleanup's a little easier. In this build for the base, we are using a cheap foam board from the dollar store. Now, the first time I used this stuff was in my first ever video, and what I was worried about was warpage, and that's what ended up happening. The texture paste we were using then included water, and I think that's why that occurred. Whereas in this video, we're going to be using something a little different. I got these ingredients from Eons of Battle, where Jay explains how to make a texture paste out of spackle, acrylic, and dirt. He might have even included PVA glue, but I'm not really sure. But hey, that gives you the opportunity to go check out the video yourself. It's in his basing tutorial playlist, and yeah, give him a watch. He has so many videos and he's been doing this much longer than me. Working with this texture paste was an absolute joy. It feels like really sturdy stuff, and when it hardens, it really does. The only thing I would change is use black acrylic rather than the white acrylic that I used. The only reason why I used white acrylic in the first place is because it's all I had around. I actually ran out of my black craft paint at this time. The reason why I would use black craft paint versus white is because eventually when the stuff does chip, you're going to see white pieces if you used white acrylic rather than the black that tends to blend in naturally. Now, a quick thing I do is actually cover a lot of my dirts or texture pastes in several coats of Rust-Oleum. Now, the reason why I do this is to add kind of a protective coat and kind of a sealant. Rust-Oleum primer is known to be very thick if applied too much or too vigorously, but I actually use this to my advantage to make sure things don't fall apart as much. So I did about 2 coats of white primer, and then we covered up those little logos that are on the side of the Nerf guns with some spackle, and then went over it with a black primer. In total, we have 3 coats of primer, which might be unnecessary, but at this point, all I know is it's going to protect those pieces altogether. Now, a couple of drawbacks of excessive priming on your terrain is going to be it's going to make things look a little more muddy and possibly even more wet and clumpy, and that can be used to your advantage if you're making like mud-like terrain, which is awesome, and that's kind of what it's looking like so far right here. But if you're going for something that's more of a granular texture, you want to use things like adhesive spray, stuff that doesn't seem to coat as heavily as Rust-Oleum does. You might still have some little bits here and there that kind of fall apart, but you're going to have a better time with holding your dirt in place rather than using an excessive amount of coats. So out of all the glues and tools and things that I have, I surprisingly don't have adhesive spray myself. I don't know why I haven't bought any yet. I need to do that. But in this, I decided just to use good old-fashioned PVA glue and then pour some dirt over the top, and it works really, really well. Sometimes it does fall apart, which is a little annoying. It tends to happen during the brush strokes of painting, so before I start painting, most of the time, sometimes off camera, I will take a brush and physically try to agitate these certain spots to get the loose dirt off, so that way I know what areas to cover up or to paint over. Now that the setting is made, we're going to apply a Citadel's Iron Warriors paint onto our broken Tau terrain, so that way we have a nice base coat when we apply the chipping method. So I went wild with this painting part because I was sticking my fingers on the paint and smearing it. I stippled it and I dry brushed it, all to give the idea of a worn and torn metal. You don't have to do it like this. You can apply it in a single thick coat if you want consistency, but I always felt like that when I messed around with my metals, it gave a decent worn and torn look. And now for the fun part. If you haven't seen this technique before in any of my videos, I got it somewhere on the internet and I don't remember where, but you basically get cheap dollar store hairspray and spray it on top of the coat you want to protect. Then apply an airbrush over the top and begin scraping away with some water, and you'll get some great chipping textures. The 2 colors I chose to put through the airbrush was a white ink and a bone white by Game Color. The reason why I chose these 2 is because I decided to go with an aged white look rather than something that is pristine and right off the shelf. It's not going to look like that in a battle scene. It's going to be aged or destroyed or weathered down. For the Martian dirt, I decided to go with Folk Arts Terracotta mixed with Game Color's Leather Brown. I applied all of that with a decent amount of water. That way it could seep through all the cracks and crevices and really coat the base. next comes my favorite part, the satisfying chipping. Just some water over that top coat and start chipping away with a toothpick, and it's again like magic. Give it a try, it's super fun. The only odd thing I noticed about chipping this time was using a white top coat over a darker coat, and that was that the white coat wanted to stain and almost wash the bottom chipping coat. So I had to like press my fingers against some spots and or use a paper towel to try to lift that watered down acrylic because it was just acting strange. I haven't encountered this before in any of my past builds, but I'm guessing it's probably because I used the white ink, which is water activated, so that might be the culprit here. For whatever reason, I felt like the chipping, although good, was still lackluster, and I also realized that I didn't prefer the undercoat of the Iron Warriors by Citadel. I preferred, well, a black coat, so I decided to go back over with some of those spots, a Abaddon Black by Citadel, just to kind of give a little more of an emphasis of chipping. I used a ripped up sponge and just a brush. After finally getting those coats down about 2 or 3 times over, I decided to apply a burnt umber wash just to make some of those cracks and crevices go from that bright orange back down to a dark. I was looking over red rock areas and canyons to see what they looked like in nature, and there was actually quite a lot of variation of reds and browns, so I decided to try to replicate that here. I don't know if I actually pulled it off, but I was pretty happy with the results. And finally, as the last step to this whole thing, I dry brushed back on that terracotta by Folk Art with a little bit of white in there just to highlight things and bring back to life some of that color. And with that, we're basically done. Let's get into those glam shots. Hey guys, thank you so much, as always, for watching. We already hit 300 subscribers, which was funny because I think in the last video I said it in a couple months we'll hit 300 subscribers. But no, you guys are freaking killing it, and I appreciate you all so much. Like, it's awesome to see that there's an audience that wants to see my work and my art, and hopefully it continues to inspire you guys to build stuff from scratch as well, from complete junk. Like, and all of you guys have been so awesome in the comments too, like so sweet, so kind, and so supportive, like leaving me genuinely kind comments, and I can't even thank you guys enough. Like, it means the world. It really warms my heart whenever I see those. Like, it's freaking awesome. So thank you guys so much for joining in and commenting and giving me some feedback and telling me how much it inspires you. I've gotten a couple of comments like that, so thank you guys. We have our next video coming up, which will hopefully be the Kill Team Terrain Part 3 to end the Kill Team Terrain board thing that we're building. Not to end all Kill Team Terrains, because it seems like you guys really like those ones, but hopefully just to finish up that project. I am definitely tired of that project, if I'm being honest, especially since I know how to make it now. I enjoy making it, but it's like, oh, I've been there, I've done that. So it's time to close the chapter of that book. And then the next video is big. I don't want to tell you guys, but it's big in size, not like big in like announcements, but it's big. And I got permission from an artist to allow me to use some of their stuff, and you'll see what I mean in that video, and I'm super excited for that. Like, it's sitting over there and I can't wait to paint it. It's so freaking cool. So yeah, definitely stay tuned for both those videos. As always, if you liked the video, share with your friends and hit that like button, of course. Thank you for supporting me and Boxnot, because we appreciate you guys so much. I don't even think you realize. And hopefully I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much.